It is election night in America, and more votes have been cast in tonight's election than all of the votes in the Iowa caucuses and the New Hampshire primary combined, because it is election night tonight in California, where almost 1 million votes have already been cast in early voting, and it will continue to be election night every night in California right through Tuesday, March 3rd, when California will begin counting the election returns on Super Tuesday in the most important primary of all, the one with 415 delegates, the California primary. They will be counting votes in the Texas primary on the same night, March 3rd, with the second most delegates, 228 delegates at stake. And Texas also has early voting. Thanks to early voting, it is now and will be election night in America every night between now and the first week of June, when the New Jersey primary will award 126 delegates, and the Virgin Islands caucuses at the end of that first week of June will award the final 6 delegates in the chase for the Democratic nomination for President of the United States. Every night now in America at kitchen tables, people are staring at presidential primary ballots and deciding the future of the country, deciding the future of the rule of law, deciding what it means to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and who is the best person to do that, as the presidential oath of office swears the president to do. In the Democratic presidential primary, what makes this the most difficult choice for voters, according to polls, is not sorting out the complexity of the candidates' policy proposals. It's not that. That's not what weighs most heavily on voters as they stare at their ballots, according to what they're telling pollsters. The number one issue, according to polling among Democratic presidential primary voters, number one, is beating Donald Trump. That's the most important thing, getting Donald Trump and his children and Stephen Miller and Trumpism out of the White House. And Democratic presidential primary voters are right to concentrate on that first of all, because that in and of itself would be a huge governing accomplishment. Political campaigns always get too caught up in the policy proposals of the candidates and never emphasize enough the other side of our politics, which is equally important. The two sides of our politics are what you are in favor of, and equally importantly, what you are opposed to, what you will prevent from happening. Sometimes the most important thing you can do in political office is to simply stop a bad thing from happening. The most important thing that Senator John McCain did in his entire political career, his entire 31-year career in the United States Senate, the most important thing he did was not push through a John McCain policy proposal and get it passed into law. The most important thing Senator John McCain ever did was say no. He said no at 1:29 in the morning. That's when John McCain turned his thumb down and voted no on the repeal of Obamacare in the United States Senate. He voted no to ripping health care away from millions of Americans. That's what the next Democratic president will be doing to all things Trump, saying no more Trumpism, no more Trump nominations to the United States Supreme Court, no more federal judges appointed who don't even meet the minimal standards set by the American Bar Association. No more budget-busting corporate tax cuts and tax cuts for the rich. No more threats to take your health care away, millions of people's health care away. No more babies in cages. No more Muslim bans. No more celebrating with Russian ambassadors over a fired FBI director. No more rage tweeting at football players. No more tweeting at the Attorney General to lower a sentencing recommendation for the president's convicted felon friends. No more of that. No more idiotic, childish behavior with the murderous North Korean dictator. No more nonstop, pathological lying day in and day out by the President of the United States. Just think about what one day in America would be with no more of that. And that's just the tip of the iceberg of Trumpism that would be instantly banished from the White House if a Democrat takes the oath of office at the next presidential inauguration. Voters are very right to say that that is the most important thing weighing their vote. And they're doubly right if Mitch McConnell remains the majority leader of the United States Senate, because not one legislative proposal of any of the Democrats running for president has a chance of becoming law if Mitch McConnell is still in place in the United States Senate. Every single Democrat running for president, including billionaire Mike Bloomberg, has a much more progressive tax policy than President Obama or President Bill Clinton before him. And not one sentence of Democratic tax policy will become law if Mitch McConnell is still the majority leader of the Senate next year. Every one of the Democratic candidates for president has a more progressive health care policy than Obamacare. But none of that can become law if Mitch McConnell still controls the Senate, and voters know that. And so most voters are not working very hard to sort out the differences in the candidates' complex legislative proposals, because they know that a Democratic president will sign into law whatever Nancy Pelosi can pass in the House of Representatives, which will only matter if the Democrats manage to win control of the United States Senate. Tomorrow morning at dawn, as I told Rachel, NPR will be releasing a new national poll of the Democratic presidential candidates. And that means that tomorrow, the 5 candidates who currently qualify for Wednesday night's debate might become 6. Mike Bloomberg might be promoted to the debate stage by the poll release tomorrow. As of now, the candidates qualifying for Wednesday night's debate here on MSNBC, in descending order of their current delegate count, which is the most important way to look at these candidates now: Pete Buttigieg, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Amy Klobuchar, and Joe Biden. And possibly Wednesday night, Mike Bloomberg will join them. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on the button below for more from The Last Word and the rest of MSNBC.